Good morning, everyone. We will start our inquiry now. I thank everyone for your presence this morning. Minister for Community Development, Secretary, our Executive Director, the GEWE Secretariat, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, before we commence, I will ask Ms. GEWE to lead us in prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, your guidance, your protection, and we thank you for blessing us with the privilege to serve in the capacities that we each serve this great nation. We ask that your presence be with us this morning, and we ask for wisdom and we ask for guidance in today's proceedings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. GEWE. Once again, I want to thank everyone for responding to our request to come before this inquiry. And I want to welcome everyone. Let me start off by acknowledging my Deputy Chair, Honorable Alan Baird, Governor Isipik, and my committee members who are here, Honorable Ricky Morris, Member for Alatau, and also this time I want to also acknowledge Honorable Francis Yori Alua, Member for Karamoy Salt Numane. He's a new committee member. We have just sworn him in this morning. I want to also acknowledge two other new committee members. Member for Kairuku, Honorable Peter Isoimo has been appointed, and Honorable William Angahuno, Member for Kainantu, has also been appointed to join our committee. Our committee, although it's extended membership now, but terms of reference still allow us to have a quorum of 4. So we do have quorum to proceed. And this extension is to recognize members of parliament who can contribute to this agenda, very important national agenda, but equally to manage the quorum so that we continue to have sessions, hearing, and events that we have scheduled for the year, considering all the schedules that members of the committee, as members of parliament, governors. We have 3 governors in our committee, have to juggle with or sort out in order to be able to be available for this important part of our responsibility as members of parliament as well, being committee members in parliament. So I want to welcome our committee members, especially given that for 1 year, all of last year, we had no committee hearing. And that's not just restricted to our committee, but as everybody knows, in fact, the entire parliamentary committee did not have a lot of meetings or sessions or hearing all of last year. So this after a 1 year break, so I want to really appreciate all committee members and welcome them. I want to secondly, as chairman, also welcome all of you stakeholders. I thank Minister Honorable Jason Peter and Secretary Ubase for being here. City manager is here. Other, provincial administrators and departmental heads, CEOs of state agency will be also be coming before this 2 days of inquiry. But the most important thing, ladies and gentlemen, is this inquiry is being held against a backdrop in which the strategy responding to and gender-based violence is coming to an end, 2016 to 2025. There is a review taking place, and more importantly, in terms of looking at how far we've come in this last, perhaps 9 years of the strategy, 2026 to 2025. And while a lot of work has been done, and on behalf of the committee, I want to acknowledge all the good work that is being done, especially in the front line by civil society organization especially. our secretariat, department, specific department for community development, all our stakeholders too, in the development partners, United Nations and DFED and New Zealand government, United States government, Korean government, Japanese government, European Union, faith-based organization. We've done a lot of work, but the sad reality is that despite all our work and effort, the prevalence rate is still high. And the statistics that has been shared last week, we all bring us to, to be somber and come to have a real sense of challenge as to where we are now. In 2028, for example, the rate of intimate partner violence was around 1.1 million. Sorry, that's probably, I think, around 1986. In 2016, it's probably about 2.3 million. After 9 years of the strategy, we are now 3.4 million. So it's not been going down. That's the sad reality that we are faced with. And so, as everybody knows, last week we had an unprecedented 2 days of parliamentary session dedicated to addressing the status of women and girls in our country, and also to our effort to end gender-based violence. And members of parliament, ministers, governors, our Prime Minister too, I think they spoke very loud and clear. And if I could summarize some of the main points that was reflective of that unprecedented session. The whole of Parliament, I would say, are committed to taking action to end gender-based violence. I think that we can say with the confidence that the Parliament spoke very clearly on that. All of Parliament to acknowledge the seriousness and gravity of the prevalence of gender-based violence, its effect on women and girls in our country. That I think I would say without any doubt was a common theme, and members of Parliament pledged themselves, made a commitment to take action. All of Parliament too want to lift the status of women and girls in our country. That was a very broad sort of consensus, that acknowledging the inequality gap and making a commitment to lifting the status of women and girls so that we close the gender gap. Pardon me. All of Parliament too wants us to take action to end gender-based violence and to elevate the status of women and girls. The Prime Minister, for example, talked about, for the first time, going back to the temporary special measures, talking about 5, or talking about 1, or even flagging the idea of 22. So the conversation in this space is not an easy conversation, but members of Parliament, ministers and governors and everyone who spoke very eloquently and passionately about what we should do. So we are now having this inquiry now, just after the Parliament session, with that clear, resounding message that we need to take action, we need to do more. Parliament is committed. We must prosecute. Yes, we are going on air in some ways. We are going on air. Everybody knows something has happened, so we are trying to do live streaming. So my apologies for those technical glitch or intervention. But let me reiterate again, the message of the Parliament is very clear, and we are meeting against that backdrop. There were 2 or 3 points that I raised in my presentation that I want to emphasize again in respect of what perhaps we have not been doing or doing well, or otherwise the major challenge in terms of reducing gender-based violence. Poor prosecution, so that's a big challenge that we face. No ownership, Minister and Secretary, all the agencies or heads of departmental heads and state agencies. The strategy belongs to the government, but all of government has not taken ownership to roll it out. And imagine if all of government, all the departments, provincial government, state agencies, state-owned enterprises, we all incorporate the strategy into our work plan every year. Imagine the impact that will have. And that will make a big difference because the public out there, they will judge us by what we are doing or not doing. And if we are not walking the talk, then we can't expect our people to follow suit and adhere to the goals and the values and the strategies in the strategy or in the GEWE strategy. So this is very telling on us. And I think the third point that I want to also highlight again for us as we commence this 2 days inquiry is that men and boys, our attitude and value system, what is important for us and how we relate to and see women and girls is still a very big impediment. And unless men and boys change their value system, have a different perspective and approach to women and girls, the statistics will not go down. We will still have a long way to go. So this is the background that we are now having this inquiry. I don't want to keep this opening remark long because we have a lot of witnesses and people that we have asked to come before the inquiry. So we have the minister here and the secretary here from the department and all the other officers in the department. So I want to cut this opening remark short. So I just want to say this, that we've got a long way to go. And perhaps I want to also say this, that whether we like their method or not, but El Salvador, the president made a commitment to turn his country around. And they use methods that may be unorthodox or out of the ordinary. We might criticize it, but it has worked for El Salvador. Within 5 years, that country with its capital, I think San Salvador used to be the meta capital of the world. It's now reckoned to be one of the safe city and safe country in the world. Business is booming, tourism is booming, investment is booming, and that country is turning around. So we have had 9 years, and that's very telling on us in terms of how far we've come in terms of prosecuting the strategy. I just want to close by reminding us too that this session and today and tomorrow too, we will be also focused on our effort, Minister and Secretary, to also improve the status of women and girls in terms of gender equality. This is also the terms of reference of our committee. Our committee in the last parliament was focused on addressing gender-based violence, and rightly so, because it is one, if not the biggest impediment to achieving gender equality. But this term, we have become a permanent committee, so that's great achievement because the committee will be here in all the life of Parliament until such time where GEWE is no longer a big problem in our country, and we have achieved parity between the genders. So a big achievement in terms of having a permanent committee to have oversight over these two very important agendas and overall agenda. But more importantly, the Parliament has redefined us correctly to be the permanent parliamentary on gender equality and women's empowerment. So that's a very definitive statement being made by Parliament, which I want to remind us. The goal is gender equality. The means is reducing or eliminating gender-based violence. Parliament is recognizing that gender-based violence is a big problem, but it's not the goal. The goal is gender equality, and to get there, we have to reduce gender-based violence as one of the big impediments. But I want to remind us that it's not the only impediment. There are the cultural, and maybe structural and economic factors that contribute to inequality. But Parliament is very clear on where we should go from now. So with that, I open our inquiry for today and tomorrow. I thank everyone once again. Deputy, you want to share some opening remarks, or we get straight into the business? Yes, I will invite the Deputy Honorable Alan Bed to say a few remarks, and then we'll commence.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be brief. I think we've had many of these inquiries, and we seem to be the same people turning up, because I can see a lot of familiar faces. Just carrying on, and as Chairman said, Parliament, I think, spoke very loudly. Whether that was taken seriously by the public, or they felt that we were just talking and not achieving anything is an entirely different matter. And I'm sure there are many in the community that are probably hoping that we can match our efforts with our rhetoric. The statistics are very alarming. I think nobody can doubt that. When I was in the initial special committee, I remember the statistics then were 18,000 cases reported to the police annually. I see the new number is 30,000 cases reported annually. The number of convictions remain around the same, less than 200. And based on the UN report, there's about 3 million women, just over 3 million women that are experiencing gender-based violence annually in our country. That's a huge number. So I think the challenge before us is that these statistics need to change. We can't just keep talking about it. We can't keep seeing the agencies responsible every time and keep getting the same story. I think our women and girls deserve better. And so in this particular session, the committee is going to be looking at what we have done. Given that we've already had several sessions already, and there were many promises made during those previous sessions. Our role today is actually, and this is the reason why you'll see, on the agenda, we've got government agencies back on the hearing schedule. We've only got a tiny space for civil society, because we're not talking to civil society in this session. That will happen at a subsequent session. Call it an M&E session that's going to follow. After this, we're going to talk, after this particular session with government agencies, we will then talk to the civil society, those who are actually out there on the front lines doing the work. So I just wanted to make that clarification clear for the public. This session is going to focus on government agencies. What are the agencies doing to change these terrible statistics that we have before us. So that's what this particular session is all about. So I want to make that clear. We may have been kind in the earlier sessions. We are going to be brutal in this particular session, simply because the statistics don't allow us the luxury of being nice and shaking hands and traveling overseas and doing great presentations to the rest of the world while the situation in our country continues to deteriorate. The role of this committee is to hold government agencies accountable. Parliament needs to hold all state agencies accountable. This committee is an extension of Parliament, and this committee is going to demand answers. Because you sigan killing pig, lonsim kind document, come, the time for fun and games is over. Our women and girls are still being persecuted at an alarming rate. They are still dying in horrific ways. And the state needs to step up its efforts. These hearings are about what the state is doing or not doing. We will find out whether it's a funding problem. We're going to look at the technical side of what you people do. Is it a funding problem? Is it a capacity issue? Is it a coordination issue? Or are there too many people coordinating and nothing is happening? Or are we all traveling overseas on all our nice trips to go and make fancy presentations to the rest of the world while we are ignoring the situation at home? That's what this committee needs to find out for the people of Papua New Guinea. At the end of the day, we work for the people of Papua New Guinea. We work for these women and girls that cannot find safety in their own country. That's who we work for. And we want to find out why the state seems paralyzed and incapable to exercise the powers that it has under law to protect our women and girls. That's what this committee needs to find out over the next couple of days. And most importantly, the next lot of statistics that comes out needs to show change, and not just change for the worst, but change for the better. Otherwise, we really need to take a serious assessment of what we are all doing together to change all of this. Today and tomorrow will be about an honest assessment. And I want to particularly speak to the public servants, the secretaries, the D heads, the administrators that are going to be turning up tomorrow. Talk out na talk straight. Aitim ya enough. Too many people, too many women and girls have paid for our incompetence and lack of action with their lives. That's a high price to pay. And that should be unacceptable to all of us. This honest assessment needs to tell us whether we are really heavy on strategy and very poor on execution. What is the problem? So I don't want secretaries and heads of department to turn up here and expect that we are going to be nice to you. We can't afford to be nice to you anymore. You mean nice, Hamaspla hearings companies. Now is the time to get to the truth, the honest, bare truth about why this situation is not improving for our women and girls. And after that, like the chairman said, we need to take some hard actions. And this committee needs to be able to report to Parliament what those hard actions are going to be. The police are going to be turning up here and we will be asking them the same questions. And they need to tell us, very honestly, why things are not improving. You need to tell us. You are the lead agency that's here now, Secretary Obase and the Minister. So with those comments, I thank you for coming to the session. Please don't expect us to be nice. I think we've done that enough. And don't take it personally. This is like no private business for you and me. This is public business. And the public is hurting, and the public needs answers. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Deputy Chair, for contextualizing further and stressing the significance of this hearing now. I want to, before we proceed, acknowledge our committee member for Mosby Northwest, Honorable Lawyer Boyce Samuel. Thank you for your presence, and all our committee members, thank you. Without further ado, we'll get on with this session of the inquiry. We have the Minister here. Thank you, Minister Honorable Jason Peter, Member for Wuhan, Minister for Community Development, Religion and Youth, and Secretary Ubase and your team. We have two lines of questioning, which I believe you all may have the benefit of it already. But these two lines of questioning will be along, firstly, on what the department as the lead agency of government has been doing since we last met, last inquiry, in terms of putting in place and rolling out the programs to address gender-based violence, facilitating the secretariat, managing the funds that are allocated for the secretariat, ensuring the funds are remitted, dispersed towards the purpose that it was intended, and perhaps to report on some outcomes that you all have been doing, perhaps in the last 1 year and before that, maybe going back to 2023. So there's a number of questions. We have about 8 questions around that, so it will help us to guide you all. Secondly, there's a line of questions, about 6 of them, or maybe 10 of them, that are equally focused on the actions and plan initiatives that we have taken towards addressing gender equality, women's empowerment, especially on the our commitment under CEDAW, the Convention to Eliminate all forms of discrimination against women. So perhaps, Minister, you can give opening remarks, give a sort of some perspective, or set the pace for Secretary and your staff, and then we can start the questioning. Thank you, Honorable Jason Peter. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee, for today. As we know, and we've seen in the last week or so for the Parliament sitting, we see gender issue, especially in terms of the women and our children and mothers that are victims in our country. I'll just give a brief of what we've done so far from the ministry, and if there's any points that I did not touch, then I can have the Secretary and others to assist me in that manner. But thank you for my first time here, sitting down here to address the panel here on what the department is doing. We look at the community development. It's most of the time when I stand up to speak, I indicate and like to elaborate more in terms of community development. It's like it starts from the womb to the tomb. We have a mother when a child is born, and then we look at that space. You have the children coming up, then you have the youth. Then it comes to a family again, and the cycle revolves around itself, then goes up to elderly, then you have the disability, and all included in that sector. And social sector is one of the areas that like this government need to address more on that. When we have a good social sector, we have a good backing up to also provide a good economic outcome for the country. Anyway, but with a couple of questions and points that I will be addressing according to what has been sent to me, for especially in terms of DBV and ODW. In 2023 to 24, we we have supported almost 21 provinces in completing their provincial strategy and action plan for GBB in all provinces. So 21 provinces so far has been covered and completed. And during the time of the strategy and action plan, we also allocated 4.2 million to a civil society organization. That was from 2022 to 2024 as part of small grants program. Additionally, we provided 427,250 to provincial government for the development and implementation of the gender-based violence strategies. So, along with funding for 20 days of human rights activist events. The province support including the autonomous region of Bougainville, West New Britain, Sundown Province, Western Province, Gulf Province, Morobe Province, Melin Bay, Oro, Jiwaka, East Sepik, Chimbu, and New Island. While we are doing that, one of the tasks that is given to us is to establish a trust account for GBV. I believe the account has been opened, and trust account has been opened with BSP. We currently also reviewing the National Gender-Based Violence Strategy for 2016 to 2025, with a new strategy expected to be completed and launched by May this year. As part of the review, we conducted 5,000 surveys. I think the surveys, I was fortunate to be part of, I think, 2 surveys that has been done. I attended, and it was, very amazing to see the response from the participants, the government, NGOs, CSOs during the events, and collected more than 1,000 testimonies, and also elder listening to us in 4 provinces, engaging, participated in the survey. A comprehensive data on gender-based violence now exists in PNG in our country. So we have begun the establishment of the standard operating procedure as well, SOP, for safe houses and the referral pathway. We engage a national GBV database developer and prototype for the GBV database that has been developed. Regional consultations will be completed for vetting purposes, with plans to launch the database by June this year, 2025. So these are some of the work that the ministry has done. As on the safe house, we've done the safe house mapping report for the country and has been completed. Currently, 18 provinces have safe houses established out of the total of 51 out of the 21 provinces. So a report to be published by May also 2025 for the safe houses. We have initiated a process of establishing an emergency fund for frontline workers to support GBV and sexual and reproductive violence survivors. We thank you that the Australian government has supported the hiring of an advisor to develop SOP for the fund and a database developer to support data collection for the fund. The Department of Community Development also has done a commitment of 100,000 to the fund, and the Australian government to match funding with 100,000. We thank the Australian government for their continuous support, especially in seeing the GBV to help the government of our country to address that. We did a memorandum of agreement, MOA, has been signed to build a safe house in Yanguru, South Sea. I think that is the only district that has come forward to see the importance of building a safe house, and we've done the signing of the MOU with the member for Yangoru's house here for the safe house. Also, we look, while on that, we also look for other MPs also of the Parliament who would like to also look in its space to establish a safe house that we can work partnership with. We've also established the GBV Technical Working Group and advised the GBV Act also. So that's so far we have done in the space of the GBV, with the additional, with the status of the current function and the GBV governance and GBV related issue by the department. Our response is recruitment for the established structure of the 10 position is still ongoing in 2023. Currently, all staff contract term has expired, but I think the HR department are working on that to get that done, and we should have the staff back on the payroll. We have the applicants for the director position for the GBV. I think the term has expired too, and I think after the interview, our position has been confirmed, and Ms. Kambane was selected again to be the director of the GBV. In 2023, during the 8th year of implementation, so far the budget allocation has increased to 9.7 million for goods and services, along with additional 2 million in public investment program, PIP. In 2024, in the 9th year of implementation, the budget allocation remained at 9.7 million for goods and service and 2 million in PIP. It was reported that 5.5 million was granted, but only 1.8 million has been utilized. A 1 million Kina check was raised to deposit to the trust account, but clearance from the finance department is still pending, and the remaining balance was unable to be accessed. So in 2025, the budget allocation for the 10th year of implementation is again set at 9.7 million, along with the 2 million in PIP. A partnership also has been established to enhance the GBV strategy review, and collaborative with the COICA. Collaboration with COICA was formed to review the GBV strategy and development standard operating procedures, SOPs. COICA have committed also 800,000 Kina, while the Department of Community Development committed 1 million Kina, resulting in a total partnership of 1.8 million. We thank UNFPA and COICA for that partnership. So in 2023, Department of Community Development provided almost 2 million Kina to UNDP to distribute grants to various guarantees. Approximately 1,957,960 Kina was successfully distributed. So DFCDR also directly funded the 5 civil society organizations, CSO, with a total of 1,460,700 Kina. That's in 2024, DFCDR provided 1.2 million to UNDP for dispersing grant to additional grantees. A sum of 894,000 Kina was directly dispatched to these guarantees, while the remaining funds covered capacity building, monitoring and evaluation, and administrative cost. So I think that's basically to wrap up the from the GBV Secretariat, GBV wing, which Ms. Kambane directly works under that.
All right, Minister, I don't want to interrupt too much your opening remarks to set the scene for your department, for your ministry and department, but just to give you some guidance and like trying to dive straight into the main concern of our committee is the progress or lack of progress. So can I just ask a general question, like maybe Minister you can address, or Secretary can address, or Ms. Kambani you can address too. Can I ask if within 2023 to 2024, did the department have some clear goals about what to do, the step to take to, you know, reduce gender-based violence? One, if there were any clear goals, did you all set goals? What you're going to achieve in 2023 and 2024? Secondly, perhaps also more as a general question, in 2023 to 2024, and perhaps up to now, what would you, both the ministry and department level and with the different offices that you all host, both the Secretariat and also the Office of, what is it called? ODW? OWD, Office of Status of Women, or Women's Development, yeah. What can you all say is the impediment? Which is the problem area that has stopped us from reducing gender-based violence in this perhaps last 2 years? Perhaps that's like a core issue that we could ask and elicit from you all. You all are the leading agency. In the presentation of Parliament, I identified 3 perhaps areas, but what is it that is, you know, in your opinion or in your work over these 2 years, you would identify as these are the big impediments. This is what we need to get right so that we'll bring the, you know, prevalence rate down, or we'll change the dynamics. It will, we'll start to move towards success. If I can ask that, I would say like a pertinent question, then it start to guide us, because you can go on. On behalf of our committee, we acknowledge the work that you all have done, working with the provincial governments and partner agencies and so on. We have to review the strategy because it's come to an end and we need a new strategy. But apart from that, in the work that you have been doing, what can you say is the core impediments that we must address in order to change the dynamics?
I'll get Ms. Kambani to answer that.
Thank you, Chairman, as well as members of the PPC GEWE. So I'll speak on the GBV Secretariat and the clear goals. I started in the position on the 28th of November 2023. So when I came into the position, I saw a real need to be able to strengthen the referral pathway. Everyone who works in this space at the provincial level as well, because the main job at the national level is to coordinate, to get data, to advocate. But I need to support the partners, the GBV secretariats in all the provinces so they respond effectively. Hence why some of the things we've done is it's really putting the foundations in, having SOPs. Right now, as Minister's already mentioned, there's nothing to guide the referral pathway when it comes to even directly reporting into the GBV Secretariat and how we work together. Hence why we've commenced that process. Also, having a national database. We can't effectively know the issues that are existing. We kind of know by reading the paper, but we need actual stats, hence why we've engaged a database developer who's already created the prototype, which we can share at a later date through email, so you have a look at how the database will look like. We also, as the Minister said, we embarked on supporting provincial governments with implementation of their GBV strategies. So ECPIC, we gave 60,000, Oro, we gave 60,000, New Ireland, 60, and West New Britain. And we had aimed to give more, and this year that's also the goal, to strengthen their capacity. If they're not receiving, and that's, I know there's other provincial governments on the list tomorrow for you to ask, but my vision is to support not just the provincial GBV secretariats, but the family support centres, the FSVUs. Family support centres, as we did our mapping of the safe houses around the country, we were told they only need 100,000 to be able to function effectively. So how do we at the Secretariat support that. And in the budget submission last year, I did put in the budget submission for this year to support family support centers as well as provincial GBV secretariats and the police as well, so they can effectively respond. So that's kind of the vision of the Secretariat, to empower those who need to be responding to the cases in their provinces and just feeding the data to us. Another way that we also see that happening is, as Minister mentioned, having an emergency fund. That was a recommendation that you guys made in 2023, that the government has an emergency fund, and we excited to announce that we have progressed that. We've spoken to Digicel, Selmoni, as well as other stakeholders who will come on board we need various means of dispersing funds to survivors of GBVs in quite an immediate action. And so we're thankful to the Australian government for coming on board and saying they'd support that with hiring advisors to set up that fund. So that process, there's research already done around the world that the advisor has done to go, okay, this is the best place in which we need to set up the fund. The government of PNG will be the only government in the world that has an emergency fund that will exist for survivors of GBV. So we're very excited. And so that's kind of in terms of it supporting the sector so they can respond effectively. So that's on the GBV side. I might pass to Secretary for...
Can I just, while you are there, you mentioned the referral pathway. In terms of all of the, and I assume you have a list of interventions that should be employed, and this referral pathway is one of those interventions. Could you give us a list of all those interventions that you have identified? That's number one. Number two, in terms of these interventions, I assume that it's sector-wide, which means that there are many players who are supposed to be doing different parts of, well, implementing different parts of this strategy. Could you tell us how many, I guess, discussions all of those different players have had with you, given that from the minister said that this agency is the coordinating agency for all of these efforts. So say in the last year, how many meetings have you had with the different agencies, police, I don't know, magisterial services, all of the different players? Could you give us that statistic?
Yes, we, as part of the, within the GBV strategy, it says to have an advisory committee made up of all these partners. We've had, in the last year, we had 2 advisory committee meetings. The year before that, we had 4. Under that, we also have, as Minister said, a GBV technical working group that's made up of all these partners, but at the specialist level. So that's police, that's health, that's donor partners, that's everyone who's working in this space. So the GBV technical working group, we've had 4 meetings last year, and that's chaired by, because it's at a technical level, it's chaired by myself. But the advisory committee meeting is chaired by Secretary and the Deputy Secretary for Policy at Department of Planning. So that's the area in which we ask these questions and go, what kind of support do you need? Why aren't you doing X amount of, why aren't you being able to be equipped to assist survivors? So those are the forums.
Do you have a report that you can submit to the committee? I mean, first of all, look, thank you for the report that's been submitted. It's basically financial with some headline stuff. But I guess for us, we want to drill down into the nitty-gritty. So in terms of all of these interventions that I'm sure the various committees have identified, have you got a list of them? Are you able to present that to the committee?
We have minutes from those meetings that we're able to share. In terms of, are you asking for concrete action that each partner within the police, the safe houses, their commitment towards?
No, I'm asking for the interventions that you would have identified, because if we are going to ask questions as to how many of those interventions are being acted on by the various agencies that are part of your committees, then we need a list which we can check. Do you have such a list?
Well, in terms of interventions, it's
you mentioned referral pathway.
Yes.
And as I said, that's one of the interventions.
Well, yes, supporting, as I'm sure you're all aware, it's capacity that's needed and funding. You know, the police keep on telling us they don't have funding to
to respond to cases of GBV, the health is saying the family support center, the division that looks after them in the country is saying they don't even get funding from National Department of Health, so they can't support the family support centers that are actually getting the cases of GBV. So those are the kind of, hence why with our proposal in the national budget this year was to support
So
them.
can we deal with that? What is the issue with funding? Where is the holdup? Secretary Base?
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Okay, like Ms. Kambani has alluded earlier, we have all our stakeholders that they do come from for meetings, especially the technical meeting and the steering committee meeting. So their reasoning is that the Family Support Center comes under the Department of Health, and the Department of Health do not allocate funding for them for their operations. So they play a very critical role, the Family Support Center, in terms of the medical report on victims, but the Health Department doesn't fund. Likewise for police, FSVAC, that's the same excuse that all the time we meet, it's to do with funding.
Okay, can I ask this other question then? Who submits for the funding? Is it Health Department? Is it your department? Is it police? Who makes the submission to Treasury? Say.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. We normally inform our stakeholders like health, police, that from their budgetary appropriation, they need to budget from their point of view as per their work plans. Likewise to us as a department, we do budget for that. But like Ms. Kambani alluded, the budget that we submitted, trying to tackle some of those issues by supporting FSVAC police, we were only given the same appropriation for 23 as 24. That's the same, despite us giving the budget.
Is it the 7.9 million or something?
Yes, that's the same budget.
Did you receive all the cash?
Deputy Chair, for last year, we didn't receive all the money that we require to implement the programs under GVV Secretariat. We were given 2 million under the PIP. We only expended 412,000, and the rest of the funding, because of the time catching up, we raised the money to be deposited into the trust account. Unfortunately, those money was never, finance never gave us the clearance letters to deposit the money. So they've said that this year they will re-warrant a special warrant for us.
So finance took the money back?
Yeah, yes, we raised the check, but no clearance letters was given to us to deposit.
So you only received 412,000 kina?
Yes, 412,000 from the PIP.
From the PIP. Yes. What about the rest of the funding?
For the recurrent, we received 2.2 million out of the 7.9 million. And
what happened to the rest of the money?
The rest of the money, we raised checks to be deposited in the trust account. Unfortunately, like I said, finance has not given us that clearance letter to deposit, but they said they will give us a special warrant this year to re-raise that money and deposit into the trust account.
So you're saying that the monies that finance didn't give you last year for all of this important work, they're going to give it to you this year? Is that on top of the funding for this year? Are they going to double it up?
Chair, that's absolutely. For last year, we were given the full appropriation. So like I said, we tried to put more money back into the trust account by way of depositing 500,000 each into the trust account. By way of doing that, finance will have to give us clearance letter to clear the fund to be credited into the GVV trust account.
But they've swept your accounts, huh? They've taken the cash
Yes,
back.
that cash has been taken, and we still are keeping on the check today. But we've spoken with finance, and they will reallocate the funding back to us, and we will now raise the check again for 2025.
How do we stop this problem from occurring, say, this year? Because from the sounds of it, a lot of the money that the government, well, we all passed a budget in Parliament that gave this money for this very important work, and from the sounds of it, you never accessed the funds. Is that correct?
That is absolutely right, Deputy Chair. And most times, I think our agency has not been prioritized in terms of budget allocation as per warrant on a monthly basis. We tend to get the warrant allocation, but GVB sometimes will probably receive like 400,000 or 300,000.
When was the last time you received any cash from finance? Which month? Last year?
Last year, we have not received any special warrant from finance, but this year, they have issued a warrant to us, which I've asked Ms. Kambani to give me the check that she's holding in the house so that we will try to raise and try to redeposit the check again this year, based on the appropriation that they provided to us this year. But that is a different appropriation. That is not for the 2025 appropriation.
That's for last year?
Yeah, last year, yes.
Secretary, can I ask if when the appropriation, the warrant is issued from Treasury and then comes to Finance, when they issue a check to you all, is it like earmark designated for GBV work or it's generally for your department? And if it's generally for your department, how do you work out like what goes to the Secretariat and what you use for other functions of your department?
Thank you, Chair, and the committee members. GBV has their own agency or vote code in the system. So when the fund comes directly to us, we raise that fund through the GBV trust account. But on an operational base, last year going forward, Ms. Kambani will attest to this. Last year going forward, I allowed the Secretariat to be responsible in coordination of the budget appropriation as per the implementation plan moving forward. But otherwise, it's earmarked. We don't touch GBV money. GBV has their own vote code that it goes directly to the GBV. And department has its own appropriateness also. We can identify.
All right, so there's a process to distinguish between, your other allocation and the allocation that...
in the warrant. It's stated in the warrant.
This is stated in the warrant, right? The warrant, the issue from Treasury is stated like this is allocation for the GBV Secretariat and not the department generally, right or wrong?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Like I said, the warrant comes down, but it clearly stipulates between the departments and the GBV Secretariat. So, like for GBV Secretariat, it is in the department's main basket, but we don't, like I said, we normally raise 500,000 to bank that money in the trust account so that they can continue to do their work. But
Secretary, let me interrupt you there. How long have you been in the job as the Secretary of the Department of Community Development?
This will be for 3 years now.
Who does the budget submissions at the end of every fiscal year to the Department of Treasury for you to go into the national budget? From your department, who does that?
Thank you, committee member and Honorable Alua. Thank you. The budget department, we do the budget, but GBV Secretariat is given the responsibility to formalize the budget.
Oh, of course, you have oversight over the budget, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So the budget comes through GBV basing on their work plan for the year. So the budget is budgeted accordingly. So once the budget is signed, I signed off, and it goes to Treasury. So we clearly articulate on the activities and program in terms of support to GBV, the referral pathways, everything is clearly articulated, and it is submitted. So we don't submit 9.7 million. We submit more than that to Treasury to fund. But at the end of the day, that's the amount that they've allocated to the Secretariat is 9.7 million and 2 million for the PIP.
So, Secretary, when you did your budget items last year, what was the full amount?
I asked for 20 million, 1 million to support the family support centers. As I said, they need 100,000. So if you divide 1 million into 22 provinces, that's a bit over 1.2 million. Also 1 million to support the police. So also looking at that 100,000, and also safe houses, building safe houses, whatnot. So I asked in the budget submission for 20 million, yeah.
So that 20 million is on top of the 8-9 million kina, right?
No, that was yeah. That was the 20 million composed of PIP and goods and services, yeah.
What were you allocated in the budget? How much?
It's back at the 9.7 million and the 2 million for PIP. So 9.7 for goods and services.
Total of 11 point something.
Yeah.
This is just for GBV? Not, okay, thanks.
Secretary, I get it that when the funds come to your FC or the department generally, in terms of allocation to the secretariat, is probably more than 500,000. But you have made addition to remit to them 500,000 on some periodic basis. Can you just explain the rationale for that?
Thank you, Chair. We remit 500 on the understanding that because of the procurement process, I cannot allocate for 1 million. So on a not monthly basis, we revert 500,000, 500,000. So far, we raised about 3 or 4 checks for.
So your financial power is limited to 500,000.
Yes, 500,000. They said 1 million, but I still think that when it goes to finance, there will be a lot of questions asked, referral going back and forth. So I want to go by 500,000 each on a monthly basis, so that we get all the money back into the trust account.
But Secretary, why can't the entire amount be transferred to their trust account, and then you just manage it in terms of a procurement? Because when there is a procurement, they'll come back to you, of course, because they don't have procurement powers. And if they go over 500,000, of course, they have to go through the NPC or whatever procurement system that you have. So, you know, I don't understand why you're keeping the money and not transferring it to the Secretariat.
Chair, Treasury and Finance has that powers. They don't necessarily need to send those money to us. If they wish to direct everything to the trust account, it's with Secretary and Finance. They can transfer the money direct to the trust account.
Secretary, are you able to write a letter to both Finance and Treasury instructing them in future to, because it seems like a silly thing. They send the money to you, then you write 500,000 Kina checks to send it back. So rather than having this silly runaround, can you give us an undertaking to write a letter as soon as you get out of here to instruct Treasury for any future payments for the GBV they pay directly to the trust account, not to the department. That saves you and everybody else all this silliness.
It's to prevent your financial controller also, you know, juggling between your other needs and the needs of the Secretariat, because, you know, Secretary, Minister, we got to understand we are in an emergency. It's a pandemic. You know, when we were in Agen, the PPC says that GBV is like water. It's coming down the river. I can't turn it off. Every day I am inundated by GBV complaints. So we are in an emergency, but the system that we are putting in place does not seem to show that we recognize that we are in an emergency. So we've got to fix some of the structural issues so that the Secretariat can fully function. But Secretary, Minister, and Ms. Company, I'm trying to get us back to, you know, like my way I tried to guide us earlier on before we went on this important, you know, discussion too. But what I am trying to get at is that in terms of the work last year and this year, I tried to ask you about the goals because, you know, based on the goals, you know, it's based on what you all have recognized as the major impediments or what you need to tick in order that we make progress. So I get it, Ms. Company, that perhaps the Secretariat and the Department recognize that the referral pathway has got a lot of problems, so you all focus on that, one. That's what I'm trying to elicit from you, Minister and Secretary and Ms. Company. Secondly, based on what we have seen now and the work that you have been doing in the last 1 or 2 years, what's the impediment? Why is it that we have not reduced the prevalence of GBV? Can we put our figure, committee, it's the money or it's the lack of structure or it's the, maybe there are a number, you know, we can consider there are a number of contributing factors, but as a department in the front line, you have to do an assessment and come up with the, you know, identifying the major impediments so that we are going to address it. So we start clearing it out so we can start to see the result. So this is why I'm pressing you all. What is it that is impeding us? What contributed to the prevalence going up and not reducing, despite all your effort, Secretariat, Ms. Company, your effort, everybody in the front line. At the end of this inquiry, towards the end, the civil society will come in. But they have been doing great work, but it has not made a difference. So they might say, they will probably say that Secretary and Secretariat did not give us support or money or something. Is that the problem, or maybe it's the problem somewhere else? Or what is it we need to put our fingers on so that we can open up so we are progressing? This is what we are trying to elicit from you all. For me, when I made the statement in Parliament, I probably made some assumption on 3 areas. Government not taking ownership, there's no prosecution, and behavior of men and women. We have not taken step to change, men and boys have taken a serious step to change their behavior. So they are still, your study shows that the men still think that it's okay to eat their wives 90 or 60% or something like that. So this will guide us towards what we're going to put our fingers on to say that, okay, we need to address this area in order to clear away.
Chair, if I may?
Yes.
In the interest of time, because we've got DJEG next, obviously there's a couple of things we can take away from your submission today. Number one, most of the funds for GBV intervention last year, you never received in terms of cash. And they're going to give that to you this year. Is that correct?
Sorry, Deputy Chair, correction. We did receive the funds, but we raised those checks to be deposited into the GBV trust on everything. Unfortunately, we have not received a clearance letter from finance to deposit that money back into that account.
Which means you didn't have the cash?
Yes.
Okay. So let's accept that. Now, I think what we need from you, and Chair has already indicated that there's going to be another hearing in the next couple of months or so. We can't do much now because you have not provided a list of interventions that needs to come from all of the different players, given that you are the coordinating agency. All right? So my suggestion is this. After this hearing, go back and conduct one of your, whether it's a technical meeting or whatever the level of meeting you need, and then at the next session that we have, bring to us a list of actions that are required. If it's Treasury, if it's Finance, if it's DJEG, if it's Police, if it's Health, whoever lists down what they are all supposed to be doing in order to deal with this problem. Then at least when you come to the next meeting, you can put it in front of us and everybody can see what the problem is, yeah? Because the CSOs are complaining to us. You also have issues, and from what I'm hearing now, you never got the cash. You got all the warrants and everything else, checks are sitting there, no approval letters, all of this. The public listening to this will think that the government doesn't know how to do its job. It makes us all look incompetent. So my suggestion to you is get all of these things that are impediments to us intervening as a state to make the process of dealing with GBV more, I guess, what's the word, smooth.
Oh, yeah.
So get that list together, and when you are called for the next hearing, bring it to us so that we all know who is doing what, at what level, and what the problems are, so that we can then deal. If there's a very specific problem, we can deal with it. Right now, as we sit here, it's hard to tell from your report where the impediments are. That's what the chairman is trying to get at. So rather than beat you all over the head with it, go back, get that list of interventions that you need, put it in a matrix, list down which department is supposed to be responsible for what, and give us a time frame. So when we call you back here next time, that is what we are going to be dealing with as a working document going forward. We need real interventions, not just strategies, write-ups, meetings, overseas travels, reports. Yes, they are useful, but that's not helping our women and girls. You need a parallel strategy, one where you are doing all your reporting and everything else, and the other one where actual interventions are taking place at ground level to stem this epidemic that's going on, the pandemic. Thank you, Chair.
Chairman, if I may just quickly. I'm suggesting to the Secretary, Chair, through you, that we should have some call for action plans, put a three-month plan and a 6-month plan, which the Deputy Chair is talking about, and they can give it to us. Because we have too many reports. We've been inundated with too many reports, and sometimes we are reading far too many reports. And when the GBV Secretariat or the Special Committee was set up, I think that was a 5-year plan, and I think we've hit that. And I don't think we as a government and also as a secretary, we have not much to show for. So we just need to put a proper plan in place for the next 3 months, as requested by the Deputy Chair. Just put a plan in place as to what we can achieve in the next 3 months and in 6 months, and come and give it to us, even before the inquiry. So we know, all the impediments Secretary are talking about, the trust account, and we seem to be having too many reports with no little pathway. So we need a clear direction from you guys. So if it's funding from the government issues, we can deal with that at the government level. I'm seeing too many reports, but we seem to be all over the place. Thank you.
Sorry, Ms. Kambane and Minister and Secretary, before we ask you to leave, I just want to ask you all to make a statement at least on 2 other points before we ask you to leave. Excuse yourself. By reason that we are pressed with time, we have other team to come, especially I think Secretary for Attorney General. But the 2 points are basic. Firstly, in terms of the work on gender equality, women's empowerment. How is the policy going? Firstly, when the policy will be endorsed by NEC? Perhaps, Minister, you could speak on that, and we can see the launching. That's very important, vital work for our committee too, that we have oversight over. We have been focused on our GBV, but we need to start getting action and seeing the policy being approved by NEC and launched, so that all the follow-up action too, in terms of our commitment nationally and globally too, must start to be accounted for, so that we are making progress. Firstly, and secondly, in that respect too, in terms of all the reporting, we are required to maybe on a 5-year give reporting, but what we gather is that we have not, submitted the CEDAW reporting, up to date yet. And can you explain that why we have not been updated on the reporting? And thirdly, I think in that direction too, this year we have a shadow report that was put together by our CSO. What has happened to that report, and how is it going to be used? And can we have a copy of that report? Maybe if you all have it, you can all submit it. Otherwise, maybe the CSO to the end of our, so we can see what the CSOs are doing and what we as a government are doing. So we are progressing together. We are partnering.
Yep.
So I think this is about gender equality, women's empowerment. The other point I want to raise, Minister, is that I see there is a proposed act. So can you just speak on this proposed act for, I think it's the GBB Act. Minister, what is your plan, and is it ready for this act to go to the NEC, and what's the overall plan thinking about it? We are going to set up pass the law so that the Secretariat come under the law, and what does that mean? The Secretariat will still be parked in your department, or will be autonomous, or will go to the Prime Minister's department, or how does that shape out in terms of the act? So perhaps, Minister, you could give some perspective on that, on the act, and maybe your officer, Ms. Kavova, can talk about the gender equality policy and work and reporting. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. I think from the GEWE policy development, I think the policy is we work on that and soon to be launched. So, but I'll give that to Nancy and the Secretary to comment on that space. And for the second part of the Secretariat that you mentioned, we'll leave it to Ms. Kambane to comment on that. Secretary.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. Okay, firstly for the Act, I will allow Ms. Kabani to take us through, and then for the ODW, for the CEDAW and the policy in GEWE, I will ask Ms. Kavo. But in order to address some of the impediment that Governor Chairman, you just said, the policy in GEWE will address some of those impediments when we get that policy out. So I'll allow Ms. Kabani to speak on the Act first. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I'll be brief. So the Act really is, you have it in your folders. It's really for administration purposes to ensure that there's separation. We're still under the Ministry for Community Development, but particularly as we've spoken about this morning in terms of funding and ensuring that there's direct from Treasury right to the Secretariat. Also, administrative functions, like sometimes there's delays in processing of payments, and HR, as Minister said, you know, my staff and I don't have contracts, things like that. So it just allows for there to be smooth functioning of the GBV Secretariat. It still sits under the ministry as per the proposed Act that's in your folders, but it's just to allow for better administration and support to the Secretariat.
Chair, just to reiterate on the structure itself, where we've appointed Ms. Kabani, I think, a week ago, so she's now permanently confirmed to the position. So we are working closely with DPM to get them on the payroll as we speak. Thank you, Chair. I'll now allow Ms. Kavop.
Yeah, I think, Secretary, before we go to Ms. Kavop, I think, you know, the point is, you know, in terms of structural deficiency and impediment. So you all should think about it too, Minister, think about it too. What is the way best forward that we can, you know, structure the Secretariat and our work so that it flows and it's really responding to an emergency, a pandemic. The way we have structured things now, look also, you may take him lightly here. We are not taking it seriously, so this is why I'm pushing you all. What is the plan? And I've been pushing you all. What is the impediment? So, you know, Secretary, you all have to think about it seriously. What is it that is impeding us from making progress? You are all the, you know, frontline department, Loyumi. You have been working in this space for all this time. You have to identify and come to this inquiry, bang, bang, bang. This is the impediment. Committee, if you want to help us, clear this way for us. Then it's our job to bring accountability to other departments and agencies of state. We can summon anyone, Prime Minister included, Ministers of State, Secretary, to clear the, you know, the impediments in terms of structural impediments or financial impediments. But we rely on you all. It's the frontline agency, so that's why I'm pressing this question. You please think about this. Should the Secretariat be based with you all? You know, because in the past we have made the recommendation that it goes to the Prime Minister's Department, not to undermine you, Secretary, but to make it easy, perhaps, that money come up now, work come up now. All the, you know, frontline people are getting money, so they are continuing to do the work. So we are seeing tangible result. And the reality before us is, you may not get result that is good. It's going up. So what's the problem? So please, next time you appear, then you identify these things, the impediments. Then that's our job as the committee to bring other agencies of state into account, because you all can't do this. We as the parliamentary, having the power of the people in the parliament, we have the powers to summon anyone and everyone, including the Chief Justice. We can summon him too, if there's an impediment from the judiciary. All right, Minister, you like to go back?
Yeah, Chairman, like to comment as well. Like from the department, we're pushing, especially from me, from the third level. We like to establish the Office of the Woman before 2027. So we're working on that space to make sure that whatever needs to be done in the below has to be done. Then we can do an announcement on that before 2027. So we'd like to see the office of the woman must be a standalone office, so they can address GBV and all this quickly in their space. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, thank you, Minister. Ms. Kavo, please update us on the policy and the steps we're taking in that area. Very, very important area. It's a very important part of our, terms of reference.
Thank you, Chair, and members of the committee. In terms of the policy, the policy expired in 2015. That's the National Policy on Women and Gender Equality. Since 2015, no work has been done in terms of the review due to hindrance that is beyond all of us sitting here, because all of us are recently appointed and sitting in these positions, in these capacities for the last, say, 3 years. So under the leadership of our current minister and Secretary Ubase, must commend these two male leaders that have also supported and pushed for the review of the policy. So we started the work. I got appointed as director in 2003. So since then, we've started the progress of reviewing the policy with consultation from, we did provincial consultations and also with our relevant CSOs. Currently, we have the completed version of the policy, the revised policy, that we intend to put through NEC with the new name of Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Policy. So that's a 10-year policy, and that hopefully we will ensure that Minister takes to NEC for submission and endorsement before May and ready for launching. The only challenge we currently have is the commitment from government, I must say. And this work in terms of reviewing the policy is the support from our partners, the Australian government through UN Women and the PNG Women Lead that have helped government progress this.
Can I intervene?
Sorry.
Ms. Kavo?
Yep.
When the minister was talking, he said the government needs to do more. Now I hear you speaking and you said the commitment from government is not there. This brings us to the crux of the problem. This committee hearings for the next couple of days is to figure out how we get this government commitment. Okay? Because we've all seen the numbers. 3 million victims, 30,000 cases, only 156 convictions. That has to change. So rather than us sitting here and saying government needs to do more, who is government? Minister, respectfully. I submit that you should be thumping the table in NEC. Kick him table if you need to, because you just had all your colleagues in Parliament say all these nice things about what we need to do to help our women and girls, and unfortunately, you're responsible. So you can't be nice to your colleagues. I'm respectfully submitting to you. And we just heard from Ms. Kavop that, where's the government commitment? Who is the government? If not all of you, then who? We are talking about the government like it's somebody sitting in the next, on the next island somewhere. So that's what we are here to determine. Government and Musait. And who is supposed to convince this government, mythical government, and what law said law, convince him need law. Who needs to convince the Secretary for Finance, for instance, to sign a silly letter so you can carry one check from one bank account that's under your watch to another bank account that's also under your watch? Secretary, dijek sinan lo baksait na hari mi tok stuff, yeah? Kids on a playground can organize better than the way we seem to be organizing. Just to play marbles, Maggie can organize good through. Yeah. We can't seem to beat the kids playing marbles. So, from me listening here as a member of Parliament, speaking on behalf of women and girls, I don't think our excuses are good enough for them. And I don't want to hear people working for the government saying government needs to do more or government commitment is not there. Whose role is it to get that government commitment in? We are working for the government.
We are the government.
We are the government, aren't we? So it comes back to this point. What can we do? What can you tell us? You're the experts. Tell this committee what you want this committee to do to get this government living in another country to act. We need actions, concrete actions, not pointing to a government that someone else is responsible for. Do you understand what I'm saying? It is simply not good enough. Olo kilimol meria, just last time the solo kilimol blayang bla merilo. Barunia. And there was an outcry all over the country. I think all of us here, including you, were disgusted by that act. So, what are we doing about it? If it's, if Minister, you know napna, Secretary, you know napna, then miblaba migimone. We want to help you to put an end to all of this stuff. We want our women and girls to be able to do their business without worrying about someone stabbing them, shooting them, raping them, or something in Misabelogeme. That's what we want. I'm sure you want that too. So don't just talk about a government that's somewhere else. You are part of that government. Tell us how to fix it. Suppose no got government commitment, what do we do to fix it? I had members of parliament support this agenda, 100%. Prime Minister too. Okay, below him, below the Prime Minister and below all the ministers, what needs to be done to elevate this situation to a point where all of the actors are doing something, not calling on a government, but acting like a government. What do we need to do? If you are helpless, then how are we supposed to feel as a committee? How are the women and girls supposed to feel? Tell us what we need to change. Me no like lo harim or line work lo government come lo yan atok. Government needs to do more. Who is the government? You understand what I'm saying, Ms. Kabab?
Yes.
So rather than point the finger at someone else, tell us what you can do now that you are in this role. I know you've been in the role for a short time. Don't point the finger somewhere else. Tell us what you can do. Thank you.
Ms. Kaba, please complete your presentation.
Sorry, thank you.
Which is very specific on
Thank you, Chair. And
gender equality.
thank you, Chair, and thank you, Deputy Chair. Before I continue, may I just refrain from saying government commitment. I think what I meant was commitment from us as bureaucrats, but also our political leaders at all levels. That's what I meant from the work that we're supposed to do. And from the Office of Women's Development, in terms of the policy, the new revised policy, what we've also included is, like Ms. Kambade mentioned, our role at the national level is to play the coordination role. So in terms of the policy, it's more implementation is at the sectoral level. But we also have the M&E framework that is included in the policy that will hold each sectors in government responsible for implementation of gender equality in their sectors. So that's for the new policy, the revised policy. In terms of CEDAW, we've also completed that, not completed, but finalizing since the last report was submitted in 2010.
Oh, we had the last report in 2010.
Yes.
Now it's 25, so that's about 15 years outstanding. What is the reason for, not updating, and what steps are we taking to make sure that we are on time? We provide a comprehensive report at the international level, UN or UN at New York or UN in Geneva. You all, Minister, every 5 years or something, I think.
Every 4 years.
You all are going to all these international conference, and it's right for you all to go there, but you can't go there with the report, a status report, an updated report. So we give the real perspective to the international community, especially the reporting process in the United Nations, whether it's Geneva or New York, what steps we have taken. And the committee is insisting on this, Minister, because we are not holding ourselves accountable. We are being complacent. The policy 2015 lapsed, and now we have not, how many years now, 2015 up to now? 10 plus years. Reporting to, we're not taking it seriously. So how are we going to make progress? And that's why it comes back to my core question to you all, Minister and Secretary. We have to identify the core impediments. What is it that is stopping us? And some of them are structural. Some of them are financial. So if you all go back and come up with a plan, this is how we're going to sort the structural problem. This is how we're going to sort the financial problem. Or we need the help of the committee to sort up the impediment to the financial support from the national government. We need also the provincial government and all levels of government to step up. Come up with a clear strategy in terms of structural way in which we are going to set up a system that understands that we have a pandemic or epidemic, and we are going to respond accordingly. In an pandemic like recently we have the, what is it, COVID. We shut down everything, we went into emergency. But how we have structured ourselves and how we are operating, because you may not take him seriously. That's why we are not progressing. So it's incumbent on you all, Minister. And I acknowledge that you come in now, and first time you come into the ministry, so plenty have we come, now you inherit him, but we must start to, all your officers here, walk along all, helping you, and we are here to help you. We are your biggest supporter or stakeholder. We can't get this across the line without us working together. So me plus staff will help you. If treasury is a problem, we'll summon the treasurer here. Or if the, chief secretary is a problem, or certain problem, maybe secretary for finance, or minister for finance, okay, we'll summon him to come and then clear the way. This is an emergency. It's a epidemic, and we are acting like it's business as usual. That's why, the committee here, we are, really upset and, not happy with the presentation in terms of really recognizing where we are. The statistics is going up, Ms. Kaba, we need to really show tangible progress in terms of the progress on gender equality status of women. Because ultimately, the goal is gender equality. The goal is to improve the status of women and girls. We are addressing GBV because it's the major impediment. But we must also focus on the ultimate goal, which is gender equality. And if the policy framework is not there, or legal framework is not there, or financial framework is not there, people have become the committee, pile up nothing. We are not the one who is charged with the responsibility on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year. You all are the ones who are in charge of it, so you all have to give us insight. When you all come back, you talk. Chairman and committee members, heavy staff here, please help me, because people talk, I'm block here. Okay, we summon that guy. It's an emergency, Minister. It's an emergency. We have to recognize it's an emergency. So let's operate in an emergency basis. All right.
Did I finish?
Yes, I think we have to bring this session to a close. Yes, I've dragged it a bit because it's a main line agency responsible to the front line. Secretary or Minister, you want to just have some closing remarks, or then we can just bring your session to an end.
Thank you, Chair, Deputy Chair, and the committee members. Thank you for today's hearing. Thank you for identifying some of the things that we're supposed to do as a lead agency. We will come back, prepare the impediments, and we will tell you exactly what needs to be done. Just to give you a heads up, Office of Development of Women, they are allocated 51,000 under their goods and services for the entire year. And so just to give you a picture on what we've been allocated on a yearly basis. So sometimes I use, as a secretary, I use my discretion to fork into the PIP to ensure that the kind of work like the policy implementation, we use other support to ensure that we get the job done. But we will come with a recommendation through the committee, and where we see the areas that needs improvement from the government. Also, on the other hand, especially in CEDAW, there are 25 questions that we need to answer and reviews. And there are 26 agencies that come under the technical working group. We don't have cooperation from all the agencies. That's why it's taken us too long to complete the report. So
identify them.
Identify them. At the next,
make it several.
Identify them and we'll summon them.
Write to us which agencies are not complying, and then at the next sitting they'll be called up.
Minister, we are here to support you. The challenge of a state is to convert the economic gains to social gains and physical gains, of course. We have to build physical infrastructure so that it can assist us to grow the economy. And we have to invest in the social sector, in health, education, in the lives of women and youths, in addressing disability, housing, all this. And if we are not investing the economic gain into social gain, then we are failing as a nation. So we sympathize with your department. It's probably not given the attention or consideration that it deserves. We are parking money left, right, and center, but we are missing the big equation. So we need to, we are here to support you. This cover, I think, in Parliament, Sepuka raised the inequality index. Maybe we are 160 out of 161. I think the statistics will probably have improved a bit, but it's still a very bad indictment on all of us as a nation, as a people. 50 years we have come, and the inequality index is very low. Minister, we are here to support you, to help you to, address, as you say, from the cradle to the, what is it?
Grave.
To the grave, or to the tomb. I think I was going to say the tomb, but in between.
Cradle to heaven, now that we are Christian.
Yeah.
To the womb, from the womb to the tomb.
Anyway, but we need you all to come up with a clear plan, structural plan, financial plan, and a clear plan on how to action plan. All right.
Chairman, and also some of the impediments that Nancy was talking about,
yes.
that needs to go in the plan as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. All right, Minister,
Chair,
thank you for your time.
Chair, if I may, just last, to conclude everything, I just want to inform Chair through you and Deputy and the committee members that some of the duty travels that we take overseas, including the CSW, thank you to Australian government and DFED through UN Women and PNG Women Lead, they normally fund this trip for us. We don't necessarily use government funding for those trips.
Yes.
Just to provide clarity on that. So we will come with a comprehensive report later. Thank you.
We are always grateful to our partners for providing that sort of support. But again, it's about us producing results. Everyone wants to travel, and it's probably a requirement that you just turn up. But if you turn up and you're not producing the results, I don't know how you feel about that. Me by same logo lo one international meeting na. Me no carry one good plus story logo na. Talk. Same passing here. Something blow you hide him lo backside here. You like carry go so in place kaya. So again, it's we are an accountability mechanism. Fair enough. You are using funds from other taxpayers in other countries. That's fair enough. But still, no can gonna give him same lo mibla lo. Outside that, you got plenty same pennies. So if you are going to travel in future, I humbly suggest that you take something positive to go and report to the rest of the world. You may run last lo des la ogara statistics na you play go lo happy. Na go na so in pace, me by no go. I can tell you that honestly. There are many government trips that I refuse to go because me same logo. Me yet personally. So you play must logo na karim same you play it. But I'm just saying as a country, That's something that you should really reconsider. If you're going on the next trip, I suggest you bring us a list of impediments at the next sitting and help us deal with that as a country. Update the report. So you can go na sanap now sem habim het blilik na nogat sem blue na you can talk. Now you should send past them na you go. Emos and thinking blooming.
All right, Minister and Secretary and your team, we acknowledge all the work that you're all doing. Not taking away all the work that you're doing in terms of working with the provincial government and all the frontline agencies, CSO, faith-based organizations. You're doing a lot of work, but we must be strategic. We must be strategic. Otherwise, we'll be repeating this story 10 years from now. All right, thank you, Minister. Thank you, Secretary. Ms. Kawab and Ms. Kambani, thank you. Please, you are excused.
The next one is Department of Justice and Attorney General.
We have Secretary for Department of Justice and Attorney General here. If you, Secretary, you can come with your team. Mr. Rabo Frank, our city manager, is here too, but I think you can be excused because tomorrow is your day with all your colleague provincial administrators. So thank you, Mr. Frank. On behalf of Parliament, I want to apologize for the temperature inside. That's something I cannot explain and I cannot solve. So we all just have to bear with it. If there's some window, we could open the window. But for me, I'm used to hot Port Moresby, so I'll continue to wear the suit and tie. All right, Secretary, good morning to you if we are still morning. Thank you for making time to attend our hearing. We did invite the Minister, but I think most of this dialogue that we want to have with you all to elicit the information that we need, mainly technical in nature. So if it was policy-based, we will call the Minister, but otherwise, I'm of the opinion on behalf of the committee that you can address this question. So I think again, Secretary, you have been here before. I think our main sort of a point of departure is that there's some recommendations that we have recommended in the past, and we need to you and your officers to update us on what action taken, how we are improving, in terms of the referral pathway, access to justice, and is there planned reforms that are going to be taking place in order that we can make it, much perhaps easier, more accessibility to justice, much better, justice both at the highest level and at the lowest level. And in this respect, I want to take note that a lot of women and girls and some men too face gender-based violence, have interaction with the lowest court, at the village court, which are still part under the auspices of the Department of Justice and Attorney General, and also with the district court. So those are the terms of dialogue we want to have with you all. I think also the committee, generally speaking, we have specific questions, but generally speaking, we want to see like reform in terms of Evidence Act. What sort of a plan that you all have in terms of like enabling conviction of perpetrators? And I just want to take note of some of the problems that we face in that respect. In such situation, the committee don't want to come and give evidence because all house line here, all not quoting each other, and then we have a GBV situation. The percentage statistics shows that it's also within maybe 80% within the family relationship civil relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, man marry. So getting especially corroborative evidence too, in terms of criminal law, I'm hard here. It's not easy. People don't want spouse or children or relatives don't want or are reluctant to come forward. So is there a plan to, for example, amend the Evidence Act so that the guilt of a perpetrator can be determined on the quality or the standard of approval of the survivor or the victim. We don't have to have collaborative evidence. Those are some of the questions and issues that you all could address. And also we continue to have a big problem with support, to witness support or victim support. Or the law, Secretary, as you know, and your officers, seems to support more the accused. They have a right. They have a right to silence. They have a right to legal services. They can go to the state solicitor. And so we've given them and put in place mechanism to support the accused, because the law recognizes that the accused, maybe they are most vulnerable, or police could take advantage of them, or wrongful conviction. So all those are, basis by which that support is given. But on the other hand, the victims and their families, there's no support. There's no legal protection. So what sort of a mechanism we are putting in place? And these are important factors that determine whether or not there is a prosecution. So, Secretary, you've seen the evidence, the records, what is it again, Deputy? Of conviction. Yes, okay, in 2022, 30,000 cases of gender-based violence reported to family sexual violence units in PNG. From there, only 1,304 result in arrest, which is 4%. And in terms of conviction, 156, that's all right. So 30,000 and 156 convictions. So your department and the structures that we have put in place is not either not sensitive or not functioning well in order to enable conviction. So you may not get conviction now. The perpetrators are becoming, we are giving them permission to continue to, perpetrate, and from maybe smaller, time, I think slapping that's all, they become, regular, they see that violence pays. And that's probably the one reason why we cannot reduce it. So I think, Secretary, you understand it already, so I'll give you an opportunity to give our opening remarks, and then we can have a dialogue through question. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for inviting us to share with you some of the work that we do in the department, and also we are the chairman of the sector as well, so we can give some overview about the sector. So if you ask questions about the sector, we can give some ideas as well. Before you, Chairman, is myself and our Deputy Secretary, Josephine Pitmore. She looks after Justice Administration, where the village courts fall under, and our new program called the Restorative Justice that deals with victims. So she looks after that division. And on my other side is Mrs. Lillian Waruba, Deputy Secretary, who looks after legal policy reforms. So in the department, I have 3 women deputies of the 4 deputies. So they support me in my work at the department. So we are here to attend to the 4 questions that you have asked us, but also in terms of other discussions we can have it as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Secretary, and your 2 deputies. We appreciate you turning up. As you have already had the gravity of the problem, there are some some questions that have been prepared, which I'll just run you through quickly, and if perhaps you can make notes. I'm not sure if you've been given these questions beforehand. If you haven't, then we try to get through this as quickly as possible. In terms of this national complaints mechanism, can you tell us how much progress you've made, if any? And also the issues in relation to village and district courts when dealing with GBV issues. As we know, a lot of this is now being dealt with at village court level, which I'm not sure if that's legally correct, and maybe that's something you could brief us on. And a lot of it is usually to do with things like paying compensation or paying some restitution to the victim, and then the whole thing is sort of waved away. I mean, as we can see, 30,000 cases, only 1,000 turn up at court, which means that obviously
1,000 arrests.
Yeah, 1,000 arrests actually, and then that goes to court, and you've got 156 convictions. So obviously, something is happening to reduce the number of complaints that actually result in arrests. So perhaps you can tell us what you're doing there in terms of managing all those complaints, not so much you individually as an agency, but in charge of the sector. And of course, coming back to this issue of the legal mandate of village court magistrates, which you administer, the actions if any, you have taken to strengthen the timeliness, issuance, and enforcement of IPOs, and of course protection orders, especially for child survivors and victims, and more so in remote areas. The next question is, do we have a formal witness protection program, if any? Or is there a framework there, or are we thinking about doing something in that space? Do you have training programs, for instance, for GBV, for the village court magistrates, how to deal with these matters, and of course for our magistrates at their level? And if not, what's your advice to us as a committee? Your data collection, do you have a separate data collection mechanism that can, for instance, the data we have here is from 2022, so it's a few years out of date. So if you've got a better one, perhaps you can tell us, inform us about that. Maybe I stop there and you give a response first, so that Chairman or someone else can take up some of the other questions.
Plenty question is that.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Deputy Chairman. We've been given the questions, and we have got a response to each of those 4 questions. But maybe before I answer them, because you're directly dealing with village courts, can I just give you an overview of what the government has done in terms of addressing the village court space? Because that's where we are involved in. So in 2020, the government, for the first time since independence, the government adopted the village court policy. So the whole idea was that the government wanted to now refocus our attention from the national courts up there. We go back to the ground level. So in 2020, the government approved the village court policy. The idea was to revitalize the village courts, because we accept them as our frontliners, to see how we can strengthen the system. And so immediately after that, we then came up with the village court implementation strategy. That's in 2021. Now, in this particular policy strategy, we looked at three different approaches to dealing with village courts. The first is in relation to policy. So we came up with a policy, we came up with a strategy to strengthen the village court system so that they can deal with law and order. The second one was in relation to improving the human capacity. So we realized that we have 19,000 village court officials and 1,000 land mediators. Now they needed to get on pay. So in 2015, the government actually put them on pay the first time in the history of this country. And so by 2022, we realized that there were 7,000 that were not on pay. And so we've been asking the government to increase the pay from 50 million to 80 million Kenya annually. Now in 2023, the government gave us 60 million. And but 2022, 60 million, and by 2023, 70 million. We're currently short by 10 million. That's already approved by cabinet, but unfortunately we don't have the money. So at least less than 7,000 village court officials are still not on pay. I have been asking and asking, but I don't know how we can scratch the stone to get the money. So the decision has been made. So that's one area that we needed to deal with, to make sure that we pay them so that they can come to work, they can do work effectively. The other issue that we wanted to address in terms of the second approach was that we needed to bring in young, educated peace officers. Because at the moment, we're requiring them to fill in data, send us information about what's happening in the village court area. At the moment, we have 1,680 village court areas in Papua New Guinea. And so that's been looked after by the 19,000 village court officials. Now, when we looked at the numbers, we realized that the village court clerks and the peace officers are not place. So in 2020, the government took a decision that we will now employ grade 12 dropouts. Grade 12 dropouts who are just in the village, we plan now by employment. Also clerks and peace officers. Because at least also we will use smartphone, we will use computer. So the whole idea is that if we can employ these young people, then we'll train them. We'll train them and then they can be able to use their survey to help me along, improving system plan village courts. So that's done. So we are now targeting 7,000 unemployed youths that we're now going to bring onto the system. From the 19,000, 7,000 are peace officers, all clerks. We've already started with Bougainville. We've released Bougainville. Bougainville is now totally independent of PNG in terms of the village court system. Now we've started with Manus, East New Britain. Mipla employments like grade 12s. Mipla advertise, Mipla simul grade 12 mangi. Ono starting low place. We're now starting with Central, seems low line come inside. We're hoping that the chairman and committee, once we get these young people in, then we plan training more. So at the moment, we've got a program running with SILAC to train these grade 12s, so that they will do a 6 months training in certificate, Loranim court system. Wow. So that's already done. We're working with the SILAC. SILAC has now developed a curriculum for us. And then we have also negotiated with Divanwood for them to develop a diploma program for the village court officers. So Divanwood has agreed. We're now converting one of our justice program into a diploma program for the village court officers. So Kisimul grade 12 come, Mipla Holimol training mol, 6 months, Gimo certificate. After 2 years, Mipla Salimoglo Divanwood. All paid for by the government. The whole idea is to then get them out and bring in the next lot of 7,000 kids to join us in the system. Now we hope that chairman and committee members, with the level of education, now I'm plugging data. You plus data. At the moment, our village court officials deal with 50,000 cases every year. Of the 50,000, at the moment, I can't break it down. 1 mm assault, 1 mm adultery, 1 mm slap, because the data that is coming, on Manlo place here. So they're talking to their relatives or Yampla Mangin or film form that come. So we're hoping that with the training of the new peace officer clerks, we can bring in actual data, real data that will help us. Now the vision under the village court policy is that we want the village court officials to also, maybe in the future, Chairman, they can be the agents for NIO, they can be agents for the labor department to see who's moving around in the villages and they report. So in that context, we've gone to the European Union. European Union gave us some funding to help us to improve our village court system. And so one of the other approaches we've taken is to build the village court houses. Because plenty of time, you look around number of place, we've got to stop. Come on, this is 50 years of independence. We've got to give them a place to operate. All manlo place, look at Thomas, rule of law, and rule of law nothing. But maybe if you put a building, they will see that there is a rule of law. So we have now begun to roll out village court houses where it will be used by the village court, the full court, to hear it. Maybe one village court man can go RM place, but full court, RM Law Place Center. So they keep the records. So we have built, at the moment, we are building 7 village court houses complete, and we are now rolling it out throughout the country. Just this year, government has given us 4 million, so MIPLA, all right, but MIPLA start rolling them out all throughout the country. The whole idea is that all must tap, all must look in, all must look in.
Secretary, I just want to intervene there. Right?
Yeah.
The concept of village court is that it's open court, open to the community, and the community holds the magistrates accountable. It's unlike the National Supreme Court where, and the higher court where it's a closed court and people are represented by lawyers. So there is a check and balance there. So are you, in terms of moving towards housing this village court, are you sensitive of that, or? Because village court magistrate all step the house line, and you know not foul. That everybody is listening in. That's why in Port Moresby we are not building any village court house, because you go and conduct the hearing under mango tree and all the community turn up and you have to do justice. Because if you deviate, all by survey you foul there. So I'm just posing here to give you that perspective too. From a legal perspective.
Chairman, we appreciate that.
Member here.
That's why the building is not enclosed. Building a level here. So when they're sitting, people can sit outside in here and people can watch. So it's not a fully enclosed structure.
Okay.
And Mulman can really go inside. But we are giving prominence to the village court officials. All must sit down good and make him walk. So by some respect to the community. So our idea is that if we have the facility, then we can also have a room where they can keep the files. At the moment, village court officials are supposed to charge a fee for delivering the service. But to date, we have not collected a single toya from a village court. Because usually the village court people pay a fee. So
well, I know village court sittings where they impose what they call fines. But as to what they do with that fines, I think I didn't make it way into the department. Probably it's to service their own expenses, so to speak. Anyway.
Yeah, Vice Minister, I think that's the point. And that's the reason why we try to put a facility where they can at least collect the fees, that's transmitting Kalumipla. But anyway, Chairman and committee members, that's what we've been trying to do in response to the village court and the questions you've asked specifically for that area. And the government has been proactively trying to improve the service of the village courts. So let me go back to the questions that have been raised, Chairman, and then I can address them and you can ask us further questions. So in relation to establishing a complaints mechanism for survivors to provide feedbacks about the efficiency and effectiveness of the village courts, and let me qualify here that I cannot speak for the chief magistrate and the district court. Maybe they're on the program. Maybe the chief magistrate can come and answer on that part, but for the village court, yes. So what we have done is that appreciating the issue with gender, the law has been changed. For a magistrate in each of the village court must be a woman. So that's our contribution to this big agenda. So if you look at the 1,680 village court areas, each of them must have a woman magistrate. Of the 5 magistrates, 1 must be a woman. We're also rolling out our program on this recruitment of grade 12s. We are targeting half. Half of them must be girls, half of them must be males. So that's one of our practical ways of addressing gender equality in the village court space. Now, in terms of complaints, Chairman and problem Lomipla. 2 areas here that I'm looking at the question. One is complaints in relation to how we deal with complaints, and secondly, in terms of how somebody complains about the services. I think that's what you're asking for, Chairman? Yeah. So in terms of people complaining about the service, I can admit to the committee that we don't have a system in place to deal with that matter, but we are slowly hoping that once we start to replace the village court officials in terms of people who've got a little bit of understanding, we start to train more. So at the moment, we're running the program.
Okay. Can they be brought under the magisterial services? Maybe the provincial magistrate can supervise them, or they can give regular report to the provincial, what do you call them? Provincial SPM, yes.
Yeah.
Senior magistrate, yeah.
Yes, Chairman, as you know, the Village Code Act already caters for the SPM to conduct a circuit to the village courts. So at the moment, I'm not effectively. So they do supervision, but we still haven't done the interaction with the SPM and the village court magistrates and the clerks, because we think that we need to address the issue of personnel first, human beings here, because still we got problems about Miplan or Kisimul Nupla line.
So is there a plan to integrate the village court with the district court under ministerial services, or your plan is to keep village court separate with its own secretariat and own structure and system? And what's the rationale for? I'm not advocating any particular preference. I'm just saying, trying to work out your plan.
Yeah, the plan is to keep the village courts under the supervision of the Department of Justice, because we don't deal with law of evidence, we don't deal with formalities. So if we bring them under the magistrate services, then they start to upgrade themselves into the system, and then we deny justice to our ordinary people. And so the idea is to keep them still within the Department of Justice, so we maintain the system that's been going, but we are just basically trying to improve the system. And that's what we've been trying to do, yeah.
So maybe you will have a secretariat just like village court, magisterial services. You might have a village court services or something that is there with the capacity to supervise and reporting mechanism, and also to pay them. The pay, it will come into a budget line. So from the Department of Treasury, there will be a budget code allocated to that particular division. So all money straight, kind of. But yeah, we're guided by you.
Yeah, Chairman, we have always had the village court secretariat. So we do have a secretariat. The secretariat manages the affairs of the village court officials. We used to pay them before, but the payment has now been shifted across to Department of Personal Management, because they are now being paid allowances. And so payments are done by Department of Personal Management. We do the appointments. So we try to keep a check and balance on who is getting paid. I mean, it hasn't worked effectively, but we're getting there to try and ensure that we're not paying dead magistrates, because the information is not coming to us quickly. But there is a question that we've asked about data. So we are currently putting in place a case management system. So the whole idea is that once we put in place that case management system, then that will help us to actually even register a person, the biography of biodata of a person who is a village court officer. And at the reporting process, we will improve that with the case management system that we're now putting in place. So the whole idea is that we know that we've got all these issues, but we cannot fix them unless we fix our structures and processes. And so that's been our focus for the last 3 years, that if we can get our systems and processes in place, then we might improve our services to our community.
Move to the other person.
Yes, so in terms of the second question of addressing inadequacies regarding IPOs and POs and the protection of child survivors, let me inform the committee that we've had a very strong support from UNICEF. UNICEF has been working with us in that space in terms of training of our magistrates to deal with juvenile offenders. But more importantly, in terms of the IPO, you will note that the Department of Justice, together with government, amended the Family Protection Act in 2022. You will note that one of the provisions there was to allow for the appointment of maybe a senior citizen within the community, apart from the village court magistrate issuing the IPOs, that we can appoint, like the Commissioner for Haus. So some other person, apart from the village court magistrate, to issue IPOs. So that law has been passed. Unfortunately, we haven't given time to it yet in terms of implementing, bringing in the guidelines on how to appoint those senior citizens who can issue IPOs. So that we haven't done yet, but that's already changed by law.
What's the rationale for that? Why is it we are going to some senior person other than the magistrate to issue an IPO?
Because
It's not working, or?
it's working, but the problem with us is the implementation. When the village code issues IPOs, the police don't implement it. They don't come forward and support us effectively in the area. But the other issue is that when the magistrates are not there and the violence happens immediately, we need to have another person available to issue that IPO. And that's the reason why we amended the law to include a senior person within the community who can also issue IPOs.
Secretary, can you address the second question, synthesizing the magistrates? Are you going to wait for this, upgrading them to grade 12, or you are doing a synthesizing program now? Because plenty of victims and survivors, they face, insensitivity.
Yep.
As you know, most of the magistrates at the village court are males, and women and girls come, problem or something like that. They have